never see a $70,000 Bitcoin ever again. It is official. We are in bull run season. We've had the craziest 24 hours with the election, the presidential election yesterday of 2024. History is currently being written, and I am documenting it right here to save for like 80 years from now when I'm looking back at my life in my 20s, and I'm talking to my grandkids, and I'm like, yeah, Bitcoin wasn't even a thing. I was buying that for $70K. They're gonna be like, wow, Bitcoin was worth only $70,000. Cheers to a bull run. Cheers to a successful election. We now have the Avengers team, even though they preached for Kamala. We now have the Avengers team within our government. That is Robert F. Kennedy. That is Elon Musk building self-landing rockets, bro. But we got a power squad going into the White House right now, and America is just going to do amazing things. But at the end of the day, the reason why this is so exciting is there's been a 50-50 shot with Bitcoin and crypto. Trump's party representation and essentially the Republican Party has been very pro-crypto. They don't want to tax it. They want to hold it as a reserve asset of the United States. This is very pro for Bitcoin. They have, throughout this whole election or the campaigning process, based on the polls, Bitcoin would react on how the chances of Trump winning as the Republican candidate. Now, on the left side, Kamala, they have been historically taking action to want to deteriorate cryptocurrency, want to deteriorate Bitcoin, and influence central bank digital currencies into the system. In other words, Chinese communism. I don't with CBDC, central bank digital currency. I don't want a central institution to have the right to freeze my money, to determine where my funds can be used, what businesses I can go to, where I can travel. If they have complete control over your money, they have complete control over you. You are essentially a slave to the central bank. And that is a big issue with that system. That's why I am very pro Bitcoin. So now that we know Bitcoin will not be taxed, and it will also become a reserve asset of the United States, this is a huge deal. And over the last 24 hours, the market, it has been hilarious watching the market. Bitcoin hit a new all-time high last night and absolutely rocketed. Now, the funny thing is, if you put it relevant to Polymarket, so this is the market, the betting market on the election last night. It was at 93% with Kamala at like 7, and it eventually went to like 95 against 5. And as the Polymarket, the odds for Trump was rallying, Bitcoin saw the same exact rocket into a new all-time high. So we're here. Like, we are in bull run season, and it's just a matter of time where we're in price discovery mode, and that time might be now. We might be seeing this thing start to make 10-15% days over the next couple of weeks, couple of days. So that's why I'm putting this video up, because we are here. It has been determined now. We have a pro-crypto, pro-Bitcoin candidate in the office representing the United States as president. It's going to become a reserve asset of the United States. If that does happen, and when that does happen, the rest of Europe is going to have to FOMO. They're going to have to begin holding Bitcoin as a reserve asset, because if they do not, they will be left behind. With these new technologies, you can either accept that the change is occurring and take part in the new network early and get in while market share is cheap, or you can get in last, be last in line, pay the most amount of money, get the smallest amount of market share. And that's what nation states are going to do. And we're going to have small little countries, third world countries like El Salvador, that's been buying up Bitcoin for, I think, well over a year now. And they deemed it legal tender in their nation. And that's the problem with huge corporations, companies, nation states. They're much more prone and subject to not being open to large amounts of change. Another example would be like car companies. They didn't move to electric vehicles until Elon Musk built Tesla and then began disrupting their market with the Model 3. To make a new change, like getting the United States government to move on to a Bitcoin standard, that they essentially have to come up with an entirely new system, and they have to get rid of the old system, or they need to replace it, and they need to figure these problems out. When you have a big company, they don't like to throw away everything they have and take that big of a risk. But the people that are able and willing to take that big of a risk are those that have nothing to lose. And that's in this relative to the scenario, that's El Salvador. They have nothing to fucking lose. They just arrested like 60,000 plus gang members. They were known as the murder capital of the world. And then now the new president just made Bitcoin legal tender. And in 10 years, they might be the banking capital of the world. They may be one of the richest countries to ever exist, simply for the fact that, number one, they solved their crime issue, and number two, they made Bitcoin legal tender and is now going to be a reserve asset for the country. And they're going to be the first country to be part of a new system that of which the entire world is going to operate within. And because they got into the gate first, they're getting the most amount of market share for what they're willing and able to put in. They're getting the biggest bang for their buck. But they're also taking the biggest risk. So yeah, at the end of the day, we're going into a bull run, and we're entering price discovery mode. History's being made. I'm just putting this video out here because I just want to have this in 20, 30 years to look back on. The world's going to change drastically. I mean, we have AI coming out. We've got humanoid robots coming out. We have cryptocurrency, smart contracts. We have an entirely new digital age on the internet coming out where you can own digital assets securely. Central banking is outdated and going away for the most part. I mean, obviously, we're still going to have banking services that will be somewhat centralized because they have to be at the end of the day. Like, we're people, we work together, that's what we do. But you get to choose who you do business with. And that's the beautiful thing about this. And we're going to have, I'm just predicting the future right now. We have self-landing rockets. Like, look at this. This is an engineering marvel. And this is going to become completely normal. The only people that have ever exited orbit with a rocket is China and the United States. And then you got this motherfucker Elon Musk, who just comes in with a couple of books, $100 million, decides to make a rocket company, buys a rocket from Russia, fails, I think, 2 times, ends up exiting orbit, gets a government contract days before they're going bankrupt. SpaceX stays alive, and then they manage to land a Falcon rocket. I'm pretty sure it's the Falcon. And then now they have the largest flying object, which they shoot the rocket into space. The booster falls out of the sky. Like, now they just landed a rocket booster onto a giant 2-armed custom-built tower for commercialized space travel. I mean, space travel is going to become normal. Like, we're going to be going to space. So we have so many interesting things going on right now. These are exciting times we're in. The bull run has just started. Bitcoin just passed its all-time high. It's at a new all-time high. We should be entering price discovery mode very shortly. That is my prediction. As long as mainstream media begins pushing this out. You know, they have been censoring crypto content because of the centralized control of the media. And I'm just documenting these times to look back on in 20, 30 years. Like, we'll never see a $70,000 Bitcoin again. The space travel shit's going to become normal. Like, we're going to experience all these things. And I'm just here, just putting this shit out.